to Women of Wayland, the podcast. This is your host Yamini, and I am going to talk about a very interesting topic today. And I'm sure you would relate to it. When I moved to Boston from Toronto, the first thing I noticed were the runners. They were everywhere. Like wherever I went around town, in whatever weather, whatever time of the day, I could just find people running. I was so in awe of this, maybe because I could never really pick up running, especially running long distances. I can perhaps go for a jog for a few miles inside the coziness of a gym, but running 26 miles when it is 40 degrees outside, forget about it. What also amazed me was the passion that oozed out of the runners. Oh my god, it's like a cult, like a good cult. Running gets them all psyched up. They love discovering new people and places through running. They love their running gears too. Well, when I approached our guest today for a recording, she gave me a disclaimer. I may not have a story, she said, with the reasoning that she has only run 2 marathons and Boston being the first. I assured her that doing 2 marathons already makes her a fantastic protagonist for a fascinating story for all those people who are already running and who are non runners. Because marathon is a marathon after all, one or many. Also, isn't it cool that she ran this year, the year that our podcast came into being? It was live. So please welcome Rimante Durant to our studio. Rimante, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here.
It's absolutely our pleasure. I think I attracted you on this show, or maybe because, we've been wanting to talk to a runner for a long time. Thank you so much. How did you end up in Wayland?
I've been in Wayland for about 3 years now, but in the States in general for about 19 years. I
Wow.
moved originally from Lithuania. I arrived in Concord area at first, Concord, Mass, and I was au pair for a family with 3 children. And it was a wonderful match for myself and a family. And I stayed with them a second year, and then, the years just seemed to follow each other and be one another. And before you know, 19 years later, I'm still here. So
Wow.
life certainly had another plan for me. And, I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Don't you love this town?
I love this town. I find myself here with my South African husband and my 2 American children, as I always joke
Oh,
that,
that's
I'm
fascinating.
Lithuanian, he's South African. We have 2 little Americans running around. And it's wonderful. I love Wayland. I love the community. I love how green it is, how rural it
Totally.
is. And it reminds me a lot from back home, how I grew
that's
up.
even better.
Yeah, being
Right.
from small town, even smaller than Wayland, and spending most summers in my grandma's village, which was half size of Wayland, probably not even that. And it was just, it brings me home. It does.
Wow.
I don't think I could live in a big city like Boston.
Yes, and I'm not a city girl. I would love to go there, but this is better. This is good.
This is good. It's fun to go there, have some fun, come back in your peace and enjoy your home.
So, Remati, what do you find most rewarding about running? Especially running long distances.
It's a personal challenge, right? And it's a thrill of a challenge as well.
Right.
And it's wonderful when you reach your goal. As running a marathon, you train for, let's say, 4 or 5 months, and the day is here and you achieved what you were trying to achieve. It's a wonderful feeling, of course. But what I like about running in general, and why I like running long distances, is that it really allows me to disconnect from the world, that multitasking world that I'm out there running. All the problems seem to be much smaller. It clears my head. I kind of leave everything behind. Sometimes I have my phone with me and listen to the music, and sometimes I don't, but I make sure not to answer any messages. I don't take any phone calls or anything like that. It's just me time. It allows me to be in the nature, which I really love and I miss. And like I said, it's a me time.
Wonderful.
And obviously the longer you run, the more of it you can experience. And there is nothing like that nice, fresh outlook on life and the stress relief at the end that you feel. It really helps you carry you through the day. and then you look forward to that other run.
As someone who doesn't run a lot, I want to know if there is a thing as born runners. Meaning, does running come easy to some than the others? And Rimante, are you a born runner?
I can certainly say I'm not a born runner.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was. I would probably be winning marathons right now or be somewhere close to that. No, I'm not, and I'm quite fine with that. And as I mentioned to you before, as we were chatting before recording this, that I wasn't really very good at sports in high school or college. Not that I probably could have been better. I just didn't really try. I tried a little bit of soccer, tried a little bit of gymnastics and whatever they had to offer at that time, but I wasn't much into it. I always liked more drama and writing and, these kind of things. But running came into my life later. I was in my 30s and I was quite in a crisis in my life at that time. And, used to go for long walks. I was living in Lexington at that time, and there was beautiful Minuteman trails there to walk. So I'd go for, miles and miles walking. And
when was this, Rimante? Was it, which
it
year
was like
was
about 8 years ago or so. Okay. And I had so much emotional turmoil that fast walking became too slow. And I just kept walking
running.
And I decided running, and I would just go from one landmark to another landmark, and then next time, and then on the same trail, I would just miss that landmark and just follow to another one. Before you know, it was a mile. And before, you knew it was, 3 miles, and then I just couldn't stop. I remember being like 90 degrees days. It was a hot summer, the summer when I started running. And people would walk their dogs and go back in their houses again because it was so hot. And I would be on the trail running because it was like a Forrest Gump moment. I started and I couldn't stop. And then I had my children later, I met my husband, had my kids. And obviously it took several years of running. And now that I had both boys, I picked it up again. And that's when I decided to go for marathon. My husband always laughs that I don't do things like in a normal way. I always push myself. I don't sign up for 5K to get started. I sign up for marathon,
Which is so amazing.
Right?
Oh my goodness. I wish I was like you because I have this initial hesitation for running. I feel like I have to train myself for 3K, 5K, 10K.
Yeah. But that's the smart way to do it. That's exactly how you should be doing it. Not like me. So don't hold me as example.
Here you are running a marathon and here I am just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But
it's a good fun, and that's kind of brings me to that I don't follow rules much when it comes to running. It just tells you I'm not very disciplined, because with the Boston Marathon, I had injured both of my knees because I was just running too long, too many runs, too far. And I think that what brought me to the runner's knees, and I had to take weeks out of my training right before the marathon and just do other things to stay fit as much as I could. But then again, it's another lesson learned that you have to, stick to the plan.
Stick to the
plan.
I have to ask you this. What in the world motivates people to run long distances? Like, what is so attractive about it?
No, I can see that. For someone who is not a runner, it's like, why do you do it? Why would you just go for a casual run and have fun, right? Get some exercise. But I think it brings me back to that same answer that I gave you already before the other previous question, that it truly is a
challenge.
Thrill. It's a challenge, and it's a personal victory at the end. It's a journey. When you train for marathon for such a long distance, it's not just a casual 5K or 10K run around the block, or a fun run, a 10K fun run, and then next down. It's something you have to prepare. You have to put your mind into it. You have to prepare, your mind, your body. Again, it's not just a physical challenge, as we know. It's just as much as a mental challenge.
What are you guys thinking when you're running this marathon? Like, what are the train of thoughts, or do they stop, and what happens?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, 26 miles, that means around 3 hours.
Sometimes 3, 4, 5 usually takes, So 3 hours, that's a fast
and
marathon.
you're running. And what are you thinking when you're running?
During my casual runs, when I'm circling the town of Wayland or just going for my fun run, it's more what you're going through, what your problems, what you're going through the day, what was good, what happened, what was maybe something upsetting, or maybe even what you're cooking for dinner. or maybe
Yeah,
whatever you're going through in your life, that's what
Does it shut down
thinking.
after?
Sometimes it shuts down. I
Yes.
think I told you before we started recording that sometimes you have full head of thoughts and sometimes it's completely empty. It's like just you listening to your breathing, you hearing your footsteps, and you just looking at the beautiful lilacs growing along the road. My favorite run, as I told you before, would be going towards the Rumland Farm in Lincoln. And there's so many beautiful landmarks and beautiful, flowers and homes and farms. And it's just, I love seeing it during different time of the day, during different season. So it's really, it's just a wonderful, fulfilling experience. And
Right.
I don't think of, oh my God, I have so many more miles left. Like, oh my goodness, it's so much more to go.
So,
It's not a job.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Right.
During actual marathon, what you're thinking is, I think you're thinking of the Boston, when they ran Boston for Dana-Farber for wonderful charity. I thought of the people that I was running for when the running really got tough. Then the weather became hot, and I was thinking of my brother-in-law, a few other people that I was running for, and it really powers you through those last miles. And you just think, you just also try to enjoy it. You try to enjoy it as funny as it sounds. Maybe for someone on running, you're thinking like you're struggling, gosh, this is so much work, but you're really enjoying it. Because
But
people say it's a
race,
victory lap.
Right. But when it's a race, do you think it's a lot of pressure is on you to?
Yeah.
A lot of pressure is on you to finish the race on time,
Yes.
or you have your own goals too.
You brought me to a very very good point, that you truly try to do what you set yourself off to do. Especially like Chicago, I ran, as I always say, for myself. It was just, I wanted to do it. I went for a fun weekend away. It was my own desire to finish my first marathon, and I had no expectations, but yes, I knew I wanted to run it without stopping. That was my first goal, I guess. And I did, and I had so much fun doing it. For Boston, it was a little bit different because I did run for Dana-Farber, and because I had all these people I was running for. And so it definitely meant more for me. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
I think I went away somewhere with it. I ran with it some other place.
I think
as I tend to do.
I think it's fascinating because I was thinking about Boston Marathon being so brutal last year, and this year it was rainy, but it wasn't that bad.
You're right. I started the marathon when we started in Hopkinton. It was cloudy. It was perfect, actually, weather conditions. It was cool, and I truly enjoyed it up to about Framingham. The sun started to come out when I saw my family in Natick, which was so nice to see my husband. And then the sun really came out and it became very hot. And thinking about that, what you just asked, what you're thinking when you're running a marathon. What I was thinking that first stretch was like, okay, I got to make it to my boys because it's a nap time approaching. My little one needs to go for a nap. And then I see them and they're so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, they have no hats. I bet they have no sunscreen. I wonder if they had water, all the things that I was then laughing to myself as I passed them, thinking like this was a moment to really hug, embrace, and take some nice pictures. And here I am just being a mom,
I know,
no matter what.
No,
yes.
Yeah, without a doubt,
yes.
they will always play.
Yeah, we did our best. We took some, disheveled pictures, but it doesn't matter. They're still very precious, and they made a nice sign and all. And it was
they must be so proud of you, Mama.
Special. Oh yeah, they were very proud. I think the leading up to it, it's really what is a celebration. I feel up to marathon as well. It's like enjoying the journey. It's like the bride when you plan for the wedding. Right? The wedding day is almost like a blur. It's so much excitement. It's so much going on. What every second, every person you talk to, everything every move you make is super special. But it's a blur and flies by. You think, gosh, but from the moment you wake up to the moment you're going to go to bed, it's going to be such a long stretch of time. How am I going to make it? It flies by just like a wedding day. So why not enjoy the preparation and all the journey? And like you said, my boys would watch mommy go run on the weekend, sometime gone for 2-3 hours, and they were so cute. They would even bring me water somewhere along the way with daddy or a snack or so on. So, they were fully engaged and involved in this journey, and they know, oh, here we go, mommy's running, she's gone. And they would sometimes pick up my headphones and put in their ears and say, Mommy, I'm going for a run. Or they would step in my shoes and say, Mommy, I'm wearing your marathon. It was so special.
Absolutely. And you beautifully put it up as a wedding when this is happening. It's all a blur. I wish I could just go back. So tell me something. Do athletes, runners pee? I mean, too much information, but I want to know.
Oh, you're so cute. I love the question. Well, it's interesting. There are plenty of porta potties along the way, and people do go use them, and some don't. So just go to the side of the road like a man most of the time, and you're like, whoop, there's another man taking a pee.
I am so sure that last year it was so cold, people would be like using those toilets around. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, some used it and some not, but people went.
But do you train to not go to the washroom?
I don't know if you could train for that. I mean, your body does what No, that's a good question, actually. You just drink less water, like leading up to maybe half an hour, 45 minutes before you run. But then you will be dehydrated. Well, you sip along the way. Okay. As you go, there are tables, the hydration stations. I personally, both marathons, I never had to stop talking about the body, right? It seems like everything just shuts down. And I heard that from several runners.
And does that happen?
That whole system just waits till later.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but some don't, and it's just what your body is used to. And in general, whenever I went on my long runs during my training, I've never in my life had to stop. So that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it is good.
That saves for time, adds a minute to the marathon time.
True that. I know, I was thinking you might just lose on some time if you use the washroom. All right, on to the next question, Rimante. An often asked question. How was your training process? When did it start? Tell us about the whole process.
So it depends, it depends what kind of level marathoner you are, so to speak, and how serious about your goals you are. Most of training plans will be around from 12 weeks to 18 weeks. I think I started training was like late November, and we had pretty good winter when it came to running. So it wasn't, it was cold, but it wasn't so snowy. So, and again, just unfortunate that I got injured end of January, so I wasn't able to run through February and March.
Happen?
As I was mentioning before, that I don't do things the way it's supposed to be done. I ran too much and too fast, I think, and I just got runner's knees. Basically, when you just overuse your body, you overuse your knees, and your body says, okay, you got to slow down. Or for some people, a few days are enough. For myself, it took almost 2 months. So unfortunately for me, I had to do other things at the gym, like use machines and so on, and just pray to God that I can still be fit enough to do it. And that's why I think that made the marathon kind of more special too, because I knew I wasn't prepared. I knew I wasn't as fit as I was for Chicago, when I nailed every training run, almost every run, and I missed a lot, and it meant a lot. And again, I'm going away from your question, but running for Dana-Farber, running this marathon, it was so imperfect in that sense, because my training wasn't perfect, and it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of pain in my knees and so on, and it was hot and other elements, but I was running through those struggling miles thinking, this is perfect. It's imperfect, perfect in that sense that a lot of people who going through cancer right now and going through, cancer treatments, and some passed away, and some, battling their battles, and what would they done? Would they stop? They would have not stopped. They would keep going, keep running. And, those patients who are going through it also.
It's a motivation.
It's a motivation. So it gave me different outlook. I was struggling. They were struggling. I know what I was doing. And it was beautiful. Yeah. It was one of the best days of my life. And what was your question again?
So this is very fascinating, Rimante. Like, is there a particular part of your body that you focus on when you're taking a break from the marathon? Like, do you have to have a very strong core to run long distances, or you can just start? Like, for example, I don't have a strong core and I'm running, But is that what is stopping me to run long distance?
Oh gosh, this would be a great question for our Dana-Farber marathon team, Jack Fultz, who is a winner of 1976 marathon, Boston Marathon. That would be all great questions, and I can ask him. He'd be more detailed at that.
Please do that.
But
Thank you.
with my knowledge, and it's yes, core is a big part of it. You got to build your cardio somehow, right? So you have to, like I said, start with walking, start small runs. It doesn't have to be fast. But yes, the whole body, really, your upper body, your lower body, it all matters. But as they say, everything comes from your core. It comes from your glutes. So you really have to work your glutes and your core. Everything is engaged as you're running. And right now, I'm in rehab, so to speak. I'm still rehabbing my knees after marathon. And what I'm doing a lot is glute exercises.
Okay.
So it takes away from meaning exercises for your bum bum.
Yeah.
You have to strengthen that and your core, and then takes away the pressure from your knees and the joints and all kinds of issues. So overall, it's good to do some cross training in addition to just running, getting strong. Anything you can do counts.
Yeah. So when you were running Chicago and Boston, which one did you think was the easy and which one was tough? The track.
Definitely Chicago was the easier. I think I did one of each end, so to speak. Chicago being the easiest. I think people usually tend to say that Chicago, out of especially 6 world major marathons, is easiest.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was 47 maybe degrees and raining.
Do you prefer running in cold or do you prefer
definitely cold. Easier to run in cold than in heat. So Chicago was flat. Very flat. It was tiny little hill at the end, and we were like, oh my gosh, we'll put that hill there. Right. It was like a challenge, but it was so flat. And Boston, it starts downhill, and then it's pretty flat. Yeah.
So when you're training for Boston Marathon, are you looking at some elevation gain every time you're...
Absolutely. You want to train for hills. So that's, again, to go back to my regular course that I usually run from Happy Hollow area to Drumland Farm, that way. It gives me enough hills to go up and down, and there is great hill right by Happy Hollow, which you can just go up and down, do your drills. I'm going to say I didn't do very much of that or track running, but again, I'm not trying to win a marathon. I'm just there for fun and running for charity and just trying to stay, somewhat fit and have my mind in place to raise children.
Perfect. So I'm a big foodie, Rimante. I can
two of us. Another thing in common.
Oh, I'm so glad. But talking about the diet, you think diet I'm sure diet plays an important role in marathon. But I'm thinking, is there a specific diet you follow before the race?
Let's just say that I have not been very strict with my diet. A lot of times I'll finish my kids' mac and cheese, right? Just like most moms, at the end of the night. But yes, diet is important. You will know right away when you're out there running if you've been eating well or not, or if you maybe had too many glasses of wine, or you've been not sleeping very well because of whatever reasons. Maybe you're staying up late reading a book or whatever you're doing.
I wish.
You need to get enough sleep, you somehow find at least most nights get more sleep.
But there is no restriction on, carbs or
you
protein.
Want to make sure that you don't eat a lot of fat, I guess. They say the fatty foods are not not very friendly towards runners. Carbs are good because it's your fuel, so you want to eat good carbs, all like the whole grain and breads and, lean meat and all of that is wonderful too. But you just want to stick to the healthy diet as much as you can.
Right.
I'm sure that the athletes, professional runners and people who win marathons, they have everything lined up from A to Z for them and they follow, and it certainly makes you, reach your optimal goal and your results. For someone like me, I'm more of a casual runner, I wouldn't say that I had a specific diet. Though I do love one book that I refer to a lot. It's by Shalane Flanagan, who is, one of our local runners, so to speak, and runs many marathons, and she won New York a few years ago. So I have her cookbook. Oh. And so she, when she eats, and so it's a lot of fresh produce, a lot of fresh meats, all of it, fresh fruit, And she has plenty baked goods in there too, but they all the dried fruit or nuts or
So all
something
options,
healthy,
whole
almond milk,
options,
coconut
whole
milk, all
options,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, trying to just organic and fresh, eat local.
And so what do you so what do you eat before the race? Like, do you have breakfast?
Yeah, you gotta have a breakfast and a good one. You don't want to eat right before. So let's say if we started marathon at 11 o'clock, 11:15, I think. That's a long time from you get up at 5 that morning to get to Hopkinton. So before I left, I had oatmeal with protein powder in it and walnuts.
What do you have for dinner before? Like, see, I can go on about food.
Yeah, right? I love that. Me too. Let's talk about dinner. So most people will have spaghetti or they'll have like a
I've heard
real
that.
carb
I've heard
load.
that.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
pasta, yeah.
Oh, yes. That actually reminds me of a funny story. Before my first Chicago marathon, I was, a night before, I met some native runners, some local runners who also were running, Chicago marathon. We connected on Facebook that they're going to be there. And we said, okay, well, let's all meet for breakfast, for dinner night before. So we picked this nice Italian restaurant and we all met, sharing our experiences and meeting each other for the first time and so on. And time came to order food. Everybody just got like plain spaghetti and, water. And they're very disciplined. They ran many marathons, so people know what they're doing. At that time, I wasn't very concerned about the food. It's my first marathon. I'm like, I would like some spaghetti. Can I have some broccoli? And can I have some, what other veggies do you have? And I want this and that. And they were looking at me, you really shouldn't eat like vegetables, especially broccoli a night before, I guess, because it's fiber, can bloat you.
Okay.
You don't feel good next day. You might need to go to the bathroom. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't think I have this right on my plate, but I ordered it and I ate it. I'm like, whatever it is, I'm going to stick with it. Right there, I figured it out. And, thank God I was okay. I didn't have any issues, but I think I'd stay away. So the night before Boston, we had Dana-Farber pasta dinner at Marriott Hotel in Boston. And
that must be good.
It was amazing. They had very nice pasta and they did stick to spaghetti and bread. It was very touching. It was lots of stories about cancer survivors and all the wonderful fundraising that we did for this charity. It's such a well-run charity.
All in all, marathon is not just a race. I think it's an amalgamation of all the love and dedication and motivation we pour into a race.
You just said it all what I've been trying to say all this time. You just summed it up very nicely. It's exactly what it is. Marathon, just like life. It's just like life, it has ups and downs, like I said, the training and all. But why we really do it is because we, not only want to reach that personal victory and say, oh, I can run a marathon, but I think running for a cause makes it that much more special.
Yeah, and pushes you mentally.
That pushes you mentally. And, it made me so aware. There's so many charities out there like I wasn't aware of. People run for organic farm. You really brings you a lot of awareness. It brings you community. It brings you the people that you never, met before, and you stay in touch. And that's why people run several marathons in a row. Then they run for Dana-Farber again. I met people who ran consecutive 5, 10, 20 marathons in a row. Can you imagine? It's because this is their life. They can't. It's like you said, like a cult almost at the beginning, introduction. But it's the best cult you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's people, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these charities, and without them, they can't have as much success of finding medicine and coming new treatments or whatever charity you running. It's so important, and that's why I have this dream of I said to my husband, I'll never say it out loud, but I guess now I'm on my way saying it. I want to run all 6 majors of the marathons, So I have 4 left. So we'll see. First, I need to get those knees right. So,
just take a break.
Yeah, right.
Out,
the third might not even happen, but So if I do that, I'd love to run for charity again if I could. It's always good to do it as a lottery, because a lot you can win a lottery and enter without having to raise money, but it makes it so much more with a purpose.
Yeah, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
So this may be a long shot, but talking about races, do you have any running heroes?
So, first, again, going back to charity runners, I feel like all these wonderful charity runners are the heroes. Not that you're not a hero if you train hard and run a marathon without the charity, but the people who do all the work, they really
are indeed
deserve,
Very well said, yes.
Yeah. Of course, all those people who donate, they're my heroes too. All those people who donated money and brought me to my goal of over, close to $14,000 that I raised for the NFR, they are my heroes. They all deserve a medal, not just me.
So
but that's true.
Yeah,
it's true. Any runner, any charity runner will tell you the same thing. But you cannot really talk about a marathon, especially for us women marathoners, without thinking about Catherine Switzer.
Absolutely.
She was the first.
I've read about her the time I have
to run.
Entered Boston, yes.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, she has her own charity now, and she's done so much wonderful work. So, she's definitely a marathon hero. And as I mentioned before, Shalane Flanagan, Kara Goucher, Desiree, all of those ladies are living unicorns to me. They're
living unicorns.
They really are living unicorns. And my favorite Jack Fultz, our coach for the NFR.
I had a question for him today.
I expressed his love publicly, my love to Jack publicly many times already. He knows it. Everybody knows it. I just admire him, how humble he is and funny and great storyteller. Oh my gosh, I could listen to him.
Admiration always leads to gracious love.
Yes.
So
selfless man with such wonderful accomplishments and so humble, and I hope
adore you're listening. Him. This one is for our listeners. Do you have a favorite trail or track in Wayland?
As I referred
you
to
spoke
before,
about
the Drumlin Farm, right? I'm a creature of habit. Don't have much of imagination, I guess, when it comes to those things, but I stick to what I know and what works. And again, having, so to speak, mommy's running hours, it's usually you do what you can. So I know my track. I know where it leads to. It's safe. It's by the main road. I'm on the sidewalk. I know, God forbid, something happens, there is always someone to see me.
Right.
I also love because, again, on and off the nature, of the beauty of the nature, there is always a path of, I know what's coming. I know what I'm looking for. Is there a pretty house with a nice flowers? Is there like some lilac bushes? And going towards Concord, there is, I think, Food Project, the farm on my right. Usually I pass, and it's the most beautiful sight to see. I always look.
Run on
it's like you pass it and it looks, one way, and then you go towards Concord on the way back, it already looks different because the sun is hitting at a different angle. So all these things I enjoy. I don't really like running track, doing like loops around. It's boring to me.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, oh gosh,
I'm talking as if I have ran so many marathons.
No, you're right. You're right.
But I see, like, I would seek more and more new trails.
And like I said, Minuteman, Lexington, Concord, there's like a dirt road. It's lovely. I love that.
What has this marathon journey taught you personally? Like this, you ran for a cause and it was a motivation, but you started Chicago on your own and you did not wait for 5K, 10K.
It healed me in the areas where I need to be healed, I think. And it still is healing as I go for my runs and I go through my experiences. It also, I think I touched back on that, it really shows you that you're much stronger than you think you are, and you can do more than you think you can. It taught me more of a positivity in that sense, that instead of saying, no, I can't overtake this challenge. I can't do that. I'm not a runner. I'm not going to make it happen. Well, you know what? I want to run and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to stick with it. It taught me that you have to show up. Also, if you said you're going to do something, you got to show up and do it. Right. You can't just do it halfway. It also taught me a lot about myself, where I have to improve myself as a person, as being impatient, that I want things to happen fast, that I need to, take my time and do the things that I'm supposed to do at that time.
Right.
it really made me stronger, I think, as a person, more
a
confident as a person. Running is like your therapist. You're out there. Sometimes
Oh.
you have one story to tell. Sometimes you don't have so much to say to,
Right.
to your therapist, but it's always there to listen to you. And it's always a good
How
visit.
beautifully put, yes. Finally, last question to end on a light note.
Yeah.
Do you have a fun fact to share about Wayland?
Fun fact, how about there's one Lithuanian in Wayland? We know that for a fact.
Yes.
But now that I think there are several Lithuanians. I just have not connected with them yet. But we know for a fact it's probably just one who ran a marathon, a Boston Marathon.
Good
I doubt
job,
it. Yeah, here
yes.
you go. One Lithuanian in Wayland. Who ran a
And do you
marathon.
have a fun story about marathon running this year?
Gosh, there is so many stories, you know. The whole
Can you have,
marathon,
like,
it's
two?
made up of all, you know, fun stories and some serious stories. You know, one story that I still think about sometimes when I go on, when I exercise or whatever, just sometimes randomly comes to my head. On the marathon course, when I ran Boston, there were two guys, maybe in their 50s or 60s,
Right.
who were wearing this shirts that's thing number 1 and thing number 2. And they were just always somehow around me. And I'm like,
That's
we
hilarious.
can't be just at the same pace all the time, because I stopped to see my family, then I stopped to see friends. I made like 5-6 stops along the way.
Right.
And every couple of minutes, I'm like, oh, here they are. Here I see number 2. And I sometimes would be like, oh, where is thing number 1? You know, it was almost like this funny thing.
Oh my God.
And it was, then the professional pictures came out. The Boston Marathon, you know, the emails,
And
the pictures.
don't tell me they were there.
Yes. Thing
Oh
number
my
1.
God.
Now I can't remember, was it thing number 1 or thing number 2? Right when we turned into Boylston,
Right.
on like, you know, your victory picture, so to speak. Here it is, over my shoulder, this gentleman with his
my
shirt. I
goodness.
was like, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm glad I have a picture with him.
Oh, they were your shadows.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. Thank you so
Yo,
much.
you're welcome.
This has been a truly fascinating
Oh.
conversation. I think I enjoyed every bit. I might have some questions popping in even when you leave.
Oh, yes.
But I swear I'm not
I'm
going to
sure
bug
I'll
you
have
with them.
answers, and I'll think about that too.
I've learned so
Yeah.
much by talking to you, Rimante, and I realize the importance of getting a fresh perspective on this running conundrum. You know.
Yes, you should do it. If you ever thought about it, that,
Oh,
you
were the
know,
first
I
person
would
I'm
like
coming
to
yeah.
just up the street, up the hill, and back. Another day, maybe you turn the corner.
Yeah,
Maybe go a little more, you know.
I think I have to. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have to break that mental barrier
Yeah.
and just go.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't always have to have a shake-up in our life to
Right.
start running, you know, though that helps, I think, a lot of times, in that sense that, you know, you have another force in you that motivates you to
Right,
do that.
right.
But I think it's fun.
It's
I
fascinating.
really believe everybody can run if you're not prone to injury. You know, if you're prone to injury,
Right, right.
then you have to look for other
True
things.
that. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Rimante.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I was so nervous. I'm like, as I told you before, that I wasn't sure if
Oh,
I have
that
much of a
makes it
story
too.
to tell. But
that makes it too. You know, I'm doing
yeah.
it for the first time
Yeah,
too.
good. You're doing great. I admire your work.
Thank
Keep
you
it
so
up.
much, Rimante.
You're welcome.
And thank you for coming.